Hey everybody, this is Christian Espinosa with Alpine Security. Today's topic is on the top 6 skill sets that are useful for penetration testing. And to provide some context, I'm talking about penetration testing in general, not niche specific or specialized types of penetration testing. So this is penetration testing foundational skills. If you are focused on social engineering or wireless or database pen testing, those would be skills you develop on top of these. So the first skill listed on my list of 6 is computer networking. Most of the things we attack or try to exploit with penetration testing are devices across a computer network. We use a lot of tools to take advantage of networking behavior, such as how TCP works, the three-way handshake, how the different flags work in TCP, etc. So having some foundational network knowledge is important. Just a few things you should probably know are how TCP works, how UDP works, how IPv4 works, how Ethernet works, what a MAC address is, what a switch does, what a router does, etc. A good certification to pursue for networking is the Network Plus certification. The second thing on my list is Linux. One of the biggest hurdles that I've noticed with people trying to get into penetration testing is they don't have command line or Linux experience. They may have 20 years of IT experience with Windows, but they have limited Linux experience. Most of the tools you use for penetration testing are Linux-based tools or command line tools. The common distribution that a lot of people use for penetration testing is Kali Linux. It's based on Debian. So it's important to know your way around Linux, otherwise you'll be struggling a lot with penetration testing. A certification you can get for Linux is the Linux Plus certification. Again, that's from CompTIA as well. The third thing on the list is programming. You don't really need to become an expert with programming, but for penetration testing, having an understanding of how programming works and how an error in code can create a vulnerability, such as a buffer overflow type of vulnerability or a lack of input validation can create a problem. These are important concepts to understand. You can go out to like OWASP.org and look at the top 10 web application security vulnerabilities. Most of these are due to programming errors. So familiarize yourself with that. A couple languages you may have to use for pen testing are Python and Bash, but these are really scripting languages. Again, you don't need to be an expert in programming, just have some knowledge of how it works and how vulnerabilities are introduced through coding practices that don't include security. The fourth thing on the list is web technologies. A lot of the systems you'll test with penetration testing are web applications. Understanding how a web server works or a web application works certainly will help you when you're trying to test it. Some of the things that are worth understanding are stuff like what a LAMP stack is or what a stack is in general. So a LAMP stack is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So this is a stack of technologies that produce the web application. There's also like a WIMP stack, which is a Windows, IIS, MS SQL, and ASP.NET. So these are different ways of bundling technologies together. Stuff like HTTP methods, what an API is, what Node.js is, these are things that are useful as well. A good way to get up to speed with web technologies is to create an account on Amazon Web Services. You can get a year free of using EC2 on Amazon Web Services. This will allow you, for that 1 year free, to set up a Windows instance and a Linux instance. So you can set up your own stacks and figure out and play around with those web technologies. Another thing you can do, and I'll put the links beneath this video, and this combines a lot of the skills we talked about, especially this next one here, is set up your own virtual environment using VirtualBox. You can download the Kali virtual machine, which is Linux-based, and use that in VirtualBox. And the fifth thing I have on my list here is Windows Sys Admin, which ties into the VirtualBox environment, because you can download a Windows a Windows server and a Windows client, promote the server to a domain controller, and join the Windows client to the domain in your virtual environment. Knowing how a domain works, knowing how Active Directory works, knowing how user accounts, how they're stored in a domain, what a domain controller's function is, how processes are started and stopped in Windows, where files are stored, what the temp directory is in Windows, etc. This is useful information to know, especially if you're exploiting a Windows machine. As I mentioned, that VirtualBox environment will give you the experience, and you can download the evaluation copies of Windows Server and Windows clients and set that up in your VirtualBox environment. The sixth thing on my list is general cybersecurity concepts. When I say general cybersecurity concepts, I'm talking about encryption, hashing, confidentiality, integrity, availability, risk, concepts like this. A lot of these concepts you can learn with a certification such as a Security Plus certification, which is very useful for learning general cybersecurity concepts. So that was my top 6 there. There's a lot more, but this is just the top 6 for a foundation for penetration testing. So just in review, we went over computer networking. That was number 1 on the list. Number 2 was Linux. Number 3 was programming. Number 4 was web technologies. 5 was Windows Sys Admin. And 6 was general cybersecurity concept. So this list is meant to lay a foundation for penetration testing. So if you have these skills, it'll make your transition to become a penetration tester much easier. If you have an additional skill set you think that should be added to this list of 6, leave it as a comment. Also, the Certified Ethical Hacker is a good course and a good certification to kind of get your foot in the door from a credential perspective for penetration testing. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. You can click on the little bell as well to notify you when we have a new video come out. Take care. Bye.